Dreaming with God can lead you places you'll never be able to imagine on your own. I want to tell you today the story of how I went from a full-time working mom who was overwhelmed and stressed out into a mom that practiced presence over productivity, building a life I only used to dream about with God. And I want to share all the miracles that God did to get us here, because I know He can do it for you as well.
What if God has something way better for your life, way more fulfilling, better than your wildest dreams, and you weren't stepping into it because you didn't even know you were allowed to? Hi, I'm Jenny, and that was the question that kept coming to mind about 5 years ago. What if I can think about whatever my life would look like? What would I want it to look like? Well, let me back up about 5 years and talk to you about where I was. So 5 years ago, my husband and I had just bought our dream property. And that was kind of a miracle in itself. I had been specifically praying. I'd written in front of my Bible exactly what I wanted. I wanted 25 to 35 acres. I wanted trees. I wanted a stream or pond or a water source. And I wanted it for like less than $250,000. I know it was a really high list. But after 2 or 3 years of praying about it, it all fell into place. We found this dream property. It was beautiful. It was covered in pecan trees. It had pasture. Because a lot of it was floodplain, it was very reasonably priced. And we were able to close on it right at the beginning of 2020.
So we're out here on our land and we just signed for the property this morning, and it's like so many prayers that I prayed for so long, and it's like coming true. And I'm just so thankful.
Now, at this time, I was also pregnant with my fourth son, and I was working full time, and I was making a good bit of our income. And honestly, I loved my job. I loved what I did. I loved getting to hang out with women. I loved being creative. I had a lot of enjoyment in my career. That being said, when you're a working mom, you know this, if you are one, you still have to manage all the home things, the laundry, the dishes, the decorating, the ordering clothes for your kids, the making sure that there's a nanny or a sitter lined up. Like all of that is on you. And then you're also working and carrying all the stress of that. Well, here I am. We all know what happened in the beginning of 2020, and I am pregnant, due in June. And what was it, like March or April, that the world shut down? And it was really a gift because I could see what it would be like to have a slower life. And I really liked it. And so as I dreamed with God, I imagined like, what if Casey and I could stay home, both of us, just do ministry and then raise our kids together. Now, my kids go to a hybrid school, and so it's 2 days a week of in class with other students learning core subjects and 3 days of homeschooling at home. And only 1 or 2 of my kids were actually in school at that point. And so maybe I had like a first grader and a kindergartner or something like that. And honestly, homeschooling was really hard for me. I didn't really enjoy it, but my husband and I make a really good team. So I imagined us doing it together. What if we could do it together? What if we could have our little land, have cows and pigs and chickens and grow a garden and tend to all of that while also homeschooling our kids and doing ministry together? Now, this felt like a dream come true. It felt like this would be this beautiful life, and it really felt a million miles away. It felt like there was no way that I could do that. There's no way that we could not afford for me to stop working. We just purchased a parcel of land and we had a mortgage, and then we had dreams of building. And so there's no way that I could stop working. Well, lo and behold, I felt like God was calling me to stop working. And this didn't make any financial sense. There would not be enough money coming in every month to even pay the bills that we have, less yet take care of the dreams of our future. But you know what I did? I trusted Him and I obeyed. And it wasn't easy and it didn't feel good. I didn't go into it with, I just have so much faith, this is all going to work out. I was more like, God, I can't believe you're asking me to stop work. How are we going to make money? I'm not good at being poor. This is going to be awful. Like, I had lots of feelings. And you know what? God totally handled it. And He can totally handle your feelings too. He loves to minister to us and to hold us when we're upset. He's not shaming us for not being grateful or anything like that. He actually is a really good father that really cares about us. Just like an earthly father, if his child was upset would love to hold them and comfort them and reassure them that he's going to take care of them, God the Father is way better than that. So as we stepped out on the water, I was spending a lot of time drawing floor plans. And these floor plans were like rectangles. And I was like, I just want like a rectangle, like a plain house. And I just want a small house because small is less utilities, less taxes. You know, we don't need a lot of room. And at this time, all my kids are under like 6 or 7. So I'm dreaming of all this. Well, my husband, the dreamer, he says, hey, did you realize the property next door to ours is for sale? And I was like, pa. And he just wouldn't let it go. It was actually like a main house, and it was a rectangle, very similar to several of the floor plans that I had been sketching. And inside the garage, there was a little she shed. Well, the she shed was actually a salon, which is so funny because I'm a hairdresser. And so, what are the chances that there's going to be a salon with a shampoo bowl inside of the house on the property that adjoins with the property we just bought? And not only that, there was 3 rentals on this property. And so those rentals were bringing in money. So I still didn't think it was possible. And one day I was doing a client's hair, and she used to be a loan officer. Now she's a real estate agent. She knows a lot about both worlds. And I was telling her, oh, Casey has this funny idea. He wants us to get this land next door, da da da. And she started asking me questions. She's like, well, don't you have equity in this house? And I'm like, yeah, we have a lot of equity. You know, we bought it at this time and we've put this much into it. Now it's worth this much because we all know all the values went up. And she's like, I don't know, Jenny, I feel like that you could do it. And she's like, especially with the rentals on it and the income. So she takes me to go and sit down and talk with a friend of hers that was a loan officer. And lo and behold, with the income that was coming in on it and the amount of equity that we had in our current home, they were able to give us the loan. So we got this property, 17 more acres and 4 houses connecting to the 30 acres that we just bought. And we got to move out to the country. With a bridge loan, you get to have like 6 months to sell your house that you own, so that basically the equity from that can go into the new property. So we got it for a really great price. And once all was said and done, we actually ended up making more money with the rentals and with the equity in our old house paying off a chunk of the loan than we were making before, whenever we were paying for the mortgage in town. So once we sold that off, so that was like amazing. Now the rentals were really low at that time and they all needed a lot of work. Luckily, my husband's super handy. So he spent a ton of time remodeling those. And with the extra money that we were able to keep out of the equity, we were able to get a couple of them going. And the first house was this tiny little 2-bedroom house. And I had this idea of doing an Airbnb. It was only 600 square feet. It was so little, but underneath this like old wood paneling, I mean, it was really disgusting. We found like original shiplap, and after stripping it all down and painting it white, it ended up being so charming. Then one of my clients, who is like a mom to me, contacted me, and she was interested in moving out on the farm with us and homesteading with us and being out there. And it was like such a dream come true, because I would love for us to be surrounded by safe people that we love and that we enjoy. So this was like another miracle. And so she wants this, not the littlest house that we just redid, but she wanted the next biggest house. And so Casey started remodeling that. Well, she moved into the one that was supposed to be an Airbnb. So he's remodeling that one. And as he's wrapping that one up, my grandparents, who always lived next door to us when we lived in town, and now we've just sold our house in town, and so we were kind of sad not being close to them anymore, they decided that they wanted to move out to the farm and that the little house that was going to be an Airbnb would be perfect for them. So we scratched the Airbnb. I just have to be flexible. And we actually got such an upgrade to have them out there on the farm with us. That was like another dream come true. And so here we are. And it's time to redo the last rental. And when my grandparents moved out into town, we still owned the house they lived in town, because that was our first home. And so we rented that out. And behind it was a little salon building that Casey had built for me whenever I was pregnant with my first son. And so we actually had that house moved out to the country and put right next to our house, and we turned that into a little rental. So now we have 3 redone rentals out on the farm with us, and it's time to redo our last rental. Well, we're kind of out of money.
So we
Sought after the Lord and had the idea of pulling some cash out on the house in town that we had. And so that's what we ended up doing. We ended up taking a loan out. And with that loan, we were able to redo the last rental out there. Well, you have to understand that with me not working, we still every month didn't have as much money overall coming in as going out. And with having a new farm, we had more needs. Like we had to buy an ATV and we had to buy a tractor and all these things. But honestly, it wasn't the first time that we've walked on financial water. It was about the 3rd time. So I kept remembering, okay, God, you always come through. You always come through. Now, was I scared to death? Absolutely. Was I worried because I didn't know what was going to come after that loan ran out? Absolutely. But did part of me know that he always comes through? Absolutely. When you step out on faith, when you dream with God, it is going to take steps that feel very uncomfortable. It is not going to feel safe. There probably will be tears. There was complaining. There was fear. There was a lot of things there, but we just kept on going. Not only did we not have my income, we really didn't have over half of his income. So here we are, and I'm watching it dwindle. I'm having all these feelings. But when I look back, I remember when I started dreaming that building on the land was what we wanted to do, this rectangle shaped house. Felt like a million miles away and felt like me stopping working wasn't going to make it, that we weren't going to get to move out there. And here we are, fast forward, and God expedites our dream of living out in the country, living on our land. We didn't even have to build the house. There's already a house there, and it came with added income potential and more acreage. So that in itself was such a miracle that stepping out onto the water was so worth it, because I could still look at that and be like, look what all he's done. He's brought us this far. He's not going to abandon us, and he's not going to abandon you either. If you decide like, hey, you know what? I'd really like to work from home, or I'd like to start my own business where I can work from home and be present with my kids and run my business from home, or I want to stop working, or I want to make a career change, but I don't know if I'm going to have enough money. Let me just tell you, if you dream and God releases you, then do it. And the release will not usually, at least it hasn't for me, felt like genuine faith. It felt like scary, but I'm going to keep my eyes on him. And the waves are going to come, and I'm going to look at the waves and freak out, but then he's going to grab me and pull me back to the surface. And that was the walk. And the world tells us, hustle, 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 work, 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 be obsessed with making money. And really, a lot of God's story is rest, trust. I heard recently the deepest form of trusting and faith is to rest and to relax. And at first I was like, huh? But the more you think about it, when you're relaxed, then even your physical body is saying, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried because I know God's going to provide. I know that I'm taken care of. And for your nervous system, it feels really good to relax. And I wish I would have done more relaxing in my journey. That's what I hope for you that you can do. You can hear my testimony and hear me say, I could never have imagined being in the life that I have right now. And I'm here to tell you that you can too. You can dream about a beautiful life. You can take courageous steps out onto the water. God will catch you. God will redirect you. God will provide for you. And he has something better for you, better for your family, better for your future than you could ever imagine. So get a pen and paper and dream your biggest dream. What would your life look like?